Hey guys, what's up? This is Crypto Uncensored. My name's Paul D'Souza, and I'm here with two gents, my partner in crime, Sean Logan, and we've got a special guest here today. His name is Gary, early crypto investor for many years in other things, gold and silver, since 2005. High school dropout, guys, and he's making moves in the crypto space. Sean, what's up, dude?
Hey guys, good to see everyone. We're gonna chat crypto again. I wanted to have my buddy Gary on here because Gary is someone who I've known for many years. Actually, we met back in like 2017, and Gary's been all in on cryptocurrency just like we are. Gary started a cryptocurrency powered clothing company called Boycott Apparel. He's also the founder of the Galactics Crypto Group. He's created his own DAO, and he's just very knowledgeable in cryptocurrency. So, Gary, thanks for coming on. Let's chat some crypto. Gary, what was it about cryptocurrency that made you go all in?
Oh, wow. Great question. Yeah. I mean, what really made me go all in is the fact that crypto had all of the fundamentals of gold and silver plus so much more. I started investing in gold and silver. Geez, I think I bought my first ounce of gold when it was like $450 an ounce. I mean, silver was $8, give or take around there when we started getting into it. And really the purpose was is to hedge against the mathematical certainty of the death of the dollar. It's just very simple math that anything that you can create in infinity is eventually going to implode on itself. And so I woke up to that back in 2005 and started investing in gold and silver back then. But then in 2016, actually my dad told me about Bitcoin in 2010. But I was just too busy, too focused on other things in my life to take time to look into it. Then in 2013, some of my good friends were mining Bitcoin in their apartment, making great money. And again, I passed it by. And then finally in 2016, I opened the door of opportunity at $450 per coin and haven't looked back. I actually ended up selling all of my precious metals at the end of 2016, went all in on crypto. Geez, I mean, I was posting it all over my Facebook, Bitcoin and Ethereum back in late 2016. And then, yeah, I met Sean in early 2017, when he told me about, XRP and some other coins. And yeah, I've just been an evangelist for the technology since then, just trying to help people understand that, this is a technology that is going to make the world a better place. Just like I believe every technology has made the world a better place. And this one, I feel it's almost like it's using everything that we've created and learned before it for the last 2000 years, all, concentrated in this one technology. And so, yeah, once I really understood the mission behind it, the kind of the thesis of it to democratize money, yeah, I went all in. I think we live in a time where people are waking up faster and faster as the purchasing power of their money isn't going as far as centralized power structures are trying to tell us what to do, what to put in our body. I see it as it's actually backfiring on them now, where people are waking up and they're saying, "Hey, you know, this is my life." And I don't want to be told what to do, and I want to make my own decisions. I want to do my own research, and so I think that yeah, crypto and blockchain technology and all these technologies that are unfolding with AI now, they we're culminating into a time and place where I mean it's going to be incredible. But I think the fall of the empire is going to be very, very painful for those who are not ready and who are not open and willing to let go of the ideals of the past. So yeah, my mission is just try to help people wake up, try to serve people as best I can so that they can survive the apocalypse.
So let me ask you a question, Gary. Was there a point where you had like this epiphany? Because that happened to me when I was first exposed to crypto. Like, well, look, the first time that somebody tried to tell me about crypto, like I I didn't know what they were trying to sell me. It sounded like they wanted me to play games on the internet. But when I actually finally understood it, and this was in 2015, I had like an epiphany, and it was almost like an anxiety-inducing, life and world-changing eye-opener that happened to me. Did you go through something similar?
Not in regards to crypto specifically. I had that experience probably back in 2007 when I watched a documentary called Zeitgeist. Um, that's when I had my epiphany moment. For me, and this is what I try to tell people, is I don't recommend people try to understand this technology at a technological level because it can be overwhelming to the layman. I try to open their mind to the opportunity to understand that each generation has a life-changing generational wealth uh, opportunity. Where for like my parents and the people who are a bit older than me, their opportunity was the dot-com bubble. And before that, it was, equities in the 80s. Before that, so each generation has an opportunity. But what happens is because we're stuck in this matrix of where we're chasing our tails in this, hamster wheel of going to school, then you got to make money that barely gets you by. You have no time to think. You have no time to research. You have no time to evolve. And so I think that's where whoever they might be, they want us. And so I try to get people to understand, hey, you have an opportunity to make a modest investment to completely free you and free generations to come. So here's a great question. I'm sure both of you guys know this, but I ask people, do you know how a jet engine works? Most people don't know how a jet engine works, but they will pay hundreds and even thousands of dollars to strap their ass into an aluminum tube and go flying through the sky at hundreds of miles an hour. So, because they trust the engineers that built the technology. So I try to get them to understand that, hey, make an investment, even if it's $1,000, make the investment. And then the key is to hold it forever. 10, 20 years until that generational wealth is created. $1,000 into Amazon in 1997 and even 1999, $1,000 would have turned into $14 million at its peak. If you just would have sat and not done anything, take profits along the way. But that's the key. Most people, they're, get rich quick. They've got a short-term, they've got short-term thinking. You got to understand that these sort of technologies, crypto falls into this, is they go through stages. And we're only just getting started in the mass adoption phase of this technology. So we've still got 10 years before this is fully integrated into our lives. And so I try to get people to understand that versus you don't have to sell the farm. You don't have to go all in like me. But if you were just to, kind of open your mind a little bit and, take an opportunity when it knocks rather than closing the door because of, again, all that programming, I mean, it will set you free.
Yeah, I love that analogy with the you don't need to know how a jet engine works in order for you to to buy a ticket onto an airplane. And I like to ask people a similar type of question, but the basic idea is I'll ask someone if they use Linux as an operating system. A lot of people will say no because they don't understand it, they've never used it or whatever, and I'll say to them, but I bet you do. I bet you use it on a daily basis. Your TVs, your microwave ovens, your an Android phone, and so on. You using Linux, right? There's gonna come a time where people are going to be using crypto and not even realizing it. So there's no need to try and understand the technology. A lot of people they end up suffering from analysis paralysis because they're trying to understand what is driving this, what is the technology behind it. You don't need to know it. You honestly don't need to know it. Now you take an app. Well, I mentioned just before we started this call, the Strike app. It's an app that allows you to send dollars from one person to another. But the underlying technology is the Bitcoin Lightning Network, which allows me to send money from myself to Sean or yourself over the Bitcoin Lightning Network, it unfolds on that side as the dollars that I just sent you. So I'm sending dollars, you're receiving dollars, but it's traveling along the network, and no one needs to understand how that works. They just trust the app. They just install the app on their phone, and they load it with money, and they send it to another user. That user receives the money. No one needs to know that it goes from a lightning channel to another lightning channel. No one needs to know that. But yeah, you're right. So absolutely great start to this podcast. It's going to be an exciting one. Sean, you got any other questions?
Yeah, I've actually got a bunch of questions for Gary. I've known Gary for a while, so he could go really deep on so many interesting topics here. But one thing I wanted to ask you, Gary, was, could you give some examples of how cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is getting adopted, and give examples that are not specified for currencies, but like what are some of the other use cases and some of the other ways that blockchain is getting utilized and being adopted?
Oh yeah, man, great question again. Yeah, if we're not just looking at the, monetary aspect or the, the commercial aspect, then file storage and sharing. I mean, most people don't understand how susceptible your medical records. I mean, look how much your credit records, your text and your phone records now, even in the last few weeks with these hacks that have been going on, we're very susceptible. And blockchain technology, it is the remedy or the solution to these problems. So in the future, I see all. In fact, Sean just posted this. A DMV in California, put all those titles on a blockchain. So I foresee a future where all of your information is on a blockchain, and we're not trusting these centralized organizations to handle such sensitive information. So that's one way for sure. I see big. I see this. It's just going to disrupt everything, absolutely everything, and it's going to be. Again, it's going to be painful for those that don't have the eyes to see or the ears to hear. It's going to be painful. But for those that do, I mean, the promised land is ahead for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, you are going to get those people that are adverse to change. They're used to a system. They don't want to change a system, and it happens. I mean, I've tried to orange pull a lot of people over the years, a lot of people, and there are still people within my family that are kind of skeptical. And everybody knows, everybody in my family knows I'm a massive Bitcoin bull. I love my crypto, and they still like, nah, this is, what is this? I don't trust it. But a lot of them came around. It took me a long time to try and convert a lot of people, but it is something that we will never be able to change. We won't be able to convert every single person, and it is what it is.
Right. Well, I mean, when the masses, like you were saying earlier, once we are seamlessly using this technology in our everyday life, then the opportunity is gone. So those that get in at that point, their life won't change. And that's totally okay. But for those of us that saw the vision early and we positioned ourselves, then we will be the new 1%, as they call it. And for me, what's exciting about that is there's going to be a power, let's use that word, a power dynamic shift where there are people in the people that are running the world now and that have created the game that we're playing now. They're old and outdated people. Look at your body's like the physical hardware, like my phone, and your consciousness is your software. So I would venture to say that at the very top of global politics and policy, though the vast majority of those people are over the age of 70. Klaus Schwab, he's over 70. That motherfucker's living on borrowed time. All of these scumbags, they're old. So imagine this: their hardware never even received the software update for empathy. They're not empathetic people. So it's forgive them for they know not what they do. Like, hey, you can't, he'll never change his ways. So we just have to stop resisting, accept things as they are, and know the future is going to be better, and just wait for these dinosaurs to die, because they're going to die. I mean, I think Klaus Schwab's got a better chance of dying in the next 10 years than I do. So to your point is, when these things shift, as this old reality kind of crumbles away under the weight of its own corruption, a new one is already sprouted. It's already emerging, and it is already producing early fruit for some of us. And when things are fully shifted, then people like us who have just a different value system than those that came before us, we will create a new world. We're already doing it. So my big thing is, because I've been through, I've been on this path for a long time, and I've gone through many different seasons like resentment, resenting the government, resenting anger, rage. And I think a lot of people that watch this will probably resonate with those emotions, especially right now. But now I'm in a state of acceptance. Like, hey, I'm totally okay. I see their game. I accept their game. I'm playing it differently for sure in my life personally. But I understand that it's dissolving, it's crumbling. And just like, day and night does not happen like an off switch. It happens gradually from sunrise to sunset, and then from sunset to sunrise again. And so that's what I see happening is, hey, it might take another 10 years. It might even take 25, but I believe that the future has already happened. It's a guarantee. So I don't need to force anything to happen. My favorite nursery rhyme is row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. I'm trying to be so gentle, I ain't even fucking rowing. I'm kicked back with a margarita, just allowing the stream to take me exactly where I need to go.
That's so awesome. That is pretty powerful. Yeah. Yeah, I'll say that again. I'm gonna keep that one in the back of my head. But I do agree with you, and I absolutely for a time I went through, you could call it a season or a phase, where I despised what was happening, because when I got that epiphany that, hold on, like our monetary system's absolutely broken. And then we have a look at the people that are keeping these policies in place, and we're talking about dinosaurs making laws for way younger people. And they're basically saying, listen, we're not going to be around in, 10, 15, 20 years, but we're still going to be making laws for you guys that are still going to be here for the next 50, 60 years. I totally disagree with that. And then you take a look at countries like El Salvador, where Nayib Bukele, the president, became president at the age of 38, 37 or 38. Okay, to me, that is progressive. To me, you have a young person that understands the needs and desires of younger people, and is playing the field accordingly, and making it fair for everyone. And does everyone agree with his policies? Absolutely not. A lot of people think that he's absolutely crazy for doing some of the things that he's doing. Is it working? Absolutely, it's working. Absolutely. Now not only is El Salvador on the map, but they are slowly getting crypto rich. Okay, and is it going to change everybody's lives? Well, for people that live there, absolutely, it's going to change a lot of things. It's just going to keep getting better. So yeah, you look at almost any other country around the world, and you have these archaic ideas that used to work for people who were young in the 40s and 50s. Now those same people are stuck to those ideologies and trying to keep them going into the future. That is not how you do things. The whole idea is you adapt, you change, you bring in the young blood, and the sooner that we see young blood moving up the ranks in politics, and not just in the US, I'm talking worldwide, then we're going to see those changes. But like you said, there's a lot of old. They don't even need to be politicians, but there's a lot of old fogies that don't belong where they are. Right? You take a look at not Charlie Munger, the other guy, the other Berkshire Hathaway guy.
Warren Buffett.
Or Buffett.
Warren Buffett. Yeah, so Warren Buffett, he's not a spring chicken, okay, but he's still got a lot of pull. He's still got a lot of sway. Why? Because he's massively wealthy, and he who holds the gold makes the rules. So people will listen to him, right? Why? They don't listen to him because he's progressive, or they listen to him because he has money. No other reason. No other reason. Okay. I mean, people start saying, oh, but Bitcoin is rat poison squared. You don't know what you're talking about. You absolutely do not know what you're talking about. But people will still listen to you because now, recently, the other day, they sold off a whole bunch of Apple shares, sitting with 257 is it $257 million in cash? What are you going to do with that money? What are you going to do with that money? Watch this space. It's going to be very, very interesting. But maybe we should keep that topic for a different podcast. But yeah, it just makes you think that there are people that are in positions of power, be it political or otherwise, that are still making rules and being listened to. That shouldn't be.
Right. No, I agree. And it goes back to the acceptance is, hey, understanding that, their time is coming to an end. We were saying earlier is, with the older generations who have made laws or rules that we all essentially have to abide by is, man, I don't know how deep you are on this topic, but I know me and Sean are big on it. And something I'm very passionate about is law. What is law? What is legal? What is lawful? Like, what are these things? And personally, I see that is a resurgence. That information is being spread, maybe even more so than crypto, waking people up to the fact that your identity was taken from you and monetized at the time of your birth. Most people don't realize that your birth certificate, that we are the collateral for the fiat system, our life force energy. We, the people, create everything on this planet, and they have literally taken your soul. That's why they take the baby's soul and stamp it on the thing, because they're stealing your soul, your identity. You don't even own it. But say again.
You are an asset.
You could be an asset.
You could be
a the creditor. No, we are the creditor. We give all of our credit, all of our energy to them. But because of the things they believe in, they have to have plausible deniability. There has to be an escape hatch. But because you're stuck in that rat race chasing your tail, you never even have a chance to read the rules of Monopoly. So if you don't read the rules of Monopoly, how can you ever win the game? So that's what people are doing now. They're reading between the lines and they're figuring out the exit strategy, how to create your estate, how to take back your birthright. And not in a aggressive way. There are a lot of people who are aggressively going out there and, talking about this stuff and, going up against the lawmakers and things like that. But for me, it's, hey, we are all playing this game of Monopoly. But what most people don't understand is there's more than one set of rules. The rules for the peasants, the rules for the rulers, and the rules of the creator. And the best part about it.
I'm calling up the rules of Monopoly because there's a very specific rule in Monopoly.
Oh, about when you run out of money?
Yeah. What if the bank runs out of money? Some players think that the bank is bankrupt if it runs out of money. The bank never goes bankrupt. To continue playing, use slips of paper to keep track of each player's banking transactions until the bank has enough paper money to operate again. The banker may now also issue new money on slips of ordinary paper. Hello?
They put it right in our face.
Yep.
They pretend that it's a game. They pretend that it's a game.
Right.
Look, it's a game, and it's in the game, but you know what? It happens in real life as well. But let's not talk about that.
Right. Well, what's more is, hey, maybe that's just a game for entertainment, but you're actually playing that game. Your whole life is a reflection of that game. So most people play the game their whole life at the level of peasant. But the whole time, if you just would have read and studied, you could have played at the very top at any time. So that's why they can say when people bitch and protest, hey, why are you mad at us? Why didn't you read the rules? Oh, you didn't know you didn't have to pay taxes if you structured your estate in a certain way? Why are you mad at me? You should have read the rules. The rules were there the whole time. I'm sorry that there was so much confusion and so much these different languages with double meanings. Oh, why are you mad at me? So, but back to it, I see, man, I mean, that I see that information spreading just as strongly as the crypto movement for sure.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw something else in here, but a lot of these laws are not bipartisan for a reason, because when you keep people divided, especially over things that concern money, it's best to keep them divided. If you ever read that thing about red ants and black ants, they can coexist quite happily in a jar together. But the minute that you shake the jar, they start fighting. Okay, they don't realize who shook the jar.
Right. Dang, that's powerful.
Yep.
All right. So, that is why a lot of these laws are not bipartisan, because they want people to argue, because as long as you're arguing amongst each other, you don't have time to point fingers at the ones that actually made the laws.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
It's called divide and
Again,
conquer.
yes.
Yeah.
But going all the way back to the what Gutenberg press, that was the beginning of the internet. That was the beginning of the, decentralization of information. Right. And so now it's happening at such a rapid rate that they can't control it. I don't give them much credit. I don't think they're as smart as they want you to believe that they are, because they own the propaganda machine. So just like the Wizard of Oz can make you think that it's the all-powerful Wizard of Oz, really it's the little bitch behind a curtain.
Yep.
So that's what's happening. Like, I've heard these rumors, I'm sure you guys have too, all the NSA and the CIA created Bitcoin. It doesn't make sense because they wouldn't have let it be public.
No.
So it just doesn't make sense.
That's Daniel Penner, the investor. That's
yes, of course.
He knows, and it's going to zero. I mean, come on. So he basically said no. It was either the CIA or the NSA or the FBI or one of the triple initial organizations that made, but it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Whoever made Bitcoin did it not to assist any governmental organization, which is why they chose to remain anonymous. Okay. Because when you really think about it, what they were doing is they were committing a financial crime. All right, creating a currency that was going to compete with not just one fiat currency, but every single one across the whole planet. I mean, if they had, hey, listen, this is John Smith, and I'm creating this to try and help people, he would have been dropped off in like the Mariana
Off with his head.
Yeah, exactly. And similar things have happened in the past. There's been people that have tried to come out with their own forms of money. And so what was the one of the early ones, eCash, or was it eCash?
Oh yeah, eCash was one.
And what happened there?
Yeah, they took him down, right? Because he was public.
Just reading really quickly what happened. We can look into it, but there were other iterations of people trying to do something similar. But yeah, so Satoshi Nakamoto decided to remain anonymous. It was a good thing too. They gave us a gift. Like, you can say what you want, you can be a crypto hater or whatever the case is. I fully believe that it is something that ultimately it works for the people. It works for
I think this whole technology works for the people, because I think that they thought it was a fad and they let it pass by, and now it's hit critical mass. But even more so than critical mass of Bitcoin is all of the other offshoots. Because now I just try to look it up, how many current crypto projects there are. It's virtually impossible for them to shut it down.
Mm.
And they can't shut down the internet. Here's another conspiracy or another theory is they can't shut the internet down. They use it. It's too integrated. These technologies are too integrated and it's too far beyond their control. But again, I've in my journey, I'm to a point now where I do not believe anything that comes from a screen because it's too easy to be manufactured. I will deal with things when they're in my space or when they come to me like crypto did. It came to me 2 times before. I wish I would have listened to it the first time. But for me, it's so much bigger. You know, whoever, you know, Satoshi was, is I think that we are all like antennas, picking up thought, picking up inspiration and thoughts and ideas from, you know, a non-physical source. And so for me, it's God, you're right. It is a gift. It's a blessing. It's the greatest thing that's been created in the last 2,000 years, that it will create a utopia. A utopia. It will create, I mean, it will be heaven on earth until we get lazy and we fall back into ignorance, but that's all right. But yeah, I think that, you know, their days are numbered. You know, every story, every lie, every narrative has to be you know, greater than the previous one. That's how a lie works. Every lie you tell has to be bigger and more grandiose than the previous one, or it doesn't work. But now what's happening is it's backfiring on them. COVID, huge backfire, huge. So many people are now do not trust the system now. This whole political charade that we're seeing on TV in America, it's a fucking reality TV show. It is. You have got to be kidding me. If you would look up to any of them, because I've never voted in my life. Not a registered voter. I would not call myself. I do not belong to any organization. But for me, when I look at the character of these people, they're not leaders. I would never follow them. I would never listen to anything any of them say. Because if here's a great question for people to ask themselves. If you were in a relationship or you were married and your spouse or significant other was lying to you 80% of the time, at what point do you say, I can't trust anything you say and I got to get out of here? Because that's exactly what they're doing. Everything they say is a lie. Everything is said to manipulate you to serve their agenda. And it's as easy as just letting go. It's easy, you know, easier said than done, obviously, because it's an addiction too. It's a religion. One of my mentors, you know, had a great quote. He said that people will die for their traditions, even in favor of the truth. And I think that's what will happen, because I think that all of the strife and the chaos and all of the craziness that's happening right now, I personally believe it's just a reflection of our current state of consciousness. As individuals, we are under tremendous amounts of stress. We're holding on to ideals. The first commandment, thou shalt not believe in false idols. It's also false ideals. They're false ideals that you're believing in. Even the concept of bipartisanism, it's an ideal, it's an idea. There really is no such thing. They're just these ideas and concepts. And we cannot fault them. You can if you want, but I'm of the belief that this reality unfolds more perfectly than our minds could ever even begin to comprehend. So that means that everything is unfolding perfectly and everybody is in their exact position. Trump, Biden, they're exactly where they need to be, doing exactly what they need to do. I'm not a big religious person, but I think if you know, the God in the sky, he put it's part of that. So I'm just saying, listen, man, I'm not going to participate. You guys can if you want, but I'm going to try to. I'm building my own freaking raft. I'm going to go live in Madeira. You know, I'm getting my all electric catamaran, you know, and I'm going to live on the seven seas until these people, because again, when it crashes, when this whole house of cards, this whole facade, because we've gone so away from nature, we're so material, it's going to collapse. It's going to crash. And it's going to crash because the greatest lessons we will ever learn will be contained in that. Unless you learn them early and you go through them early so you don't suffer. But again, people will die defending their beliefs, even in favor of the truth. So most of those people that are holding on to those old ideals, they will die. Whereas me, I'd fucking leave America right now if I didn't have a 9-year-old son. I'd be gone.
Hey, Gary, I've got a
Yeah.
question for you. I wanted you to elaborate on something that you brought up that I think went over a lot of people's heads about when you were talking about the politicians and these people that everyone sees on TV and the systems that they use and how it is a religion. That religion that you just described, that's the religion of statism. And I think a lot of people don't even know what that is. Could you give examples of the rituals that people are practicing in the religion of statism? And can you give examples of the religious temples of the religion of statism? Could you like just elaborate on that? Because I think a lot of people that went over their heads.
I mean, it's going to keep going over your head
Yep.
potentially, but I mean, think about it. They're rituals. People know what day do you pay your taxes? That's a ritual.
Yep.
So they're just reaffirming it every single year. They're reinforcing it every single year. And then, I mean, you know, their temples, the White House. Oh my gosh, so much esoteric symbolism. You know, you got a freaking obelisk, and you've got all, you know, all these things. Isn't it weird that they only build statues, the big ones, the monuments, the George Washington, the Abraham Lincoln, the John F. Kennedy, those big ones, only for people they kill. The biggest ones are the ones they kill. They ritualize the assassination of, you know, Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. Those are rituals.
Sacrifice,
and then they
ritual
build,
sacrifice, right?
100%. 100%. You know, I haven't shared this with very many people at all. But a couple weeks ago, I went to an ayahuasca ceremony, and it was it was the most traumatic experience of my entire life. Like, I was exposed to some very deep, dark, satanic, demonic energy. It shook me to my core. And it did make me realize that there is dark forces out there, and there are people that are practicing these rituals because they get energy from it. I do believe there are people out there sacrificing kids because of the energy that they get from it. And that's why I think even more so, it's so important for us to be spreading this information and to be finding change the world that are not the ones of the past. It's not about violence. It's not about brute force, acceptance, neutrality, forgiveness, a community coming together. You know, I think that's very important. But because at the end of the day, you know, I think, again, the future's already happened. I think it'd be impossible for them to win because it's just not meant to. We're meant to learn these lessons, and oftentimes people need to really get drugged through the mud to learn their lessons. You know, they might need to lose everything. They might need to lose people that they love to shake them awake. I don't personally want to be like that, but there's a lot of people that do, and they will go down with the ship. Even the ones at the very highest that have created the whole system in and of itself, you know, they'll go down with the ship, but they'll also be the first ones on the guillotine once their system collapses. So I think after the last couple of weeks, I see it so much. You know, I just watched that new Deadpool movie, and my God, there's just so much programming, you know, this LGBTQ agenda. You know, it's now it's in movies, it's in, you know, I grew up, you know, loving Wolverine, my favorite, you know, X-Men you know, mutant or character, and now I just watch a video just full of, you know, homosexuality and that sort of energy, because that's it. Again, everything, it's all about energy. They want to keep you in a state of fear, of anger, of resistance, so that you're disempowered. So it's even more so for me, you know, because I took my 9-year-old son to go and watch it, and it's like, man, it's so hard to escape these narratives and this stuff, because I don't care what. Listen, I'm the freakiest of them all. Okay, but what I do in my house is my business. I ain't going out, you know, trying to recruit people into, you know, my fetishes, let's call it, or my, you know, what I like to do in my bedroom. So for me, there has to be a deeper agenda to it. And so, man, it's just I think that they're throwing everything they got because they're losing at such a tremendous rate. So while, man, it is darkest before the dawn, it truly is we've got to understand we are at that point where it is the darkest. And I think, just like in the Lord of the Rings, the Eye of Sauron, when he puts on that ring, as soon as you look at the eye, it's got you. So every day when we wake up, we have a new, fresh opportunity to reprogram ourselves, to evolve, ourselves. But man, it's everywhere. As soon as you get on your phone and if you start scrolling and you've got lust, you've got vanity, you've got gluttony, just trying to get right into your mind as soon as you wake up. So, man, in the end, you've got to be vigilant and you've got to be mindful about what you're putting in your mind through your eyes and your ears and your mouth and your nose. Because again, I think before it gets better, it's gonna get crazier, that's for sure. And so it's so important to stay vigilant and keep that shield on. And again, to just help people. Because I'm the same, Paul, my own dad told me I'm crazy. You're a schizophrenic. You need to go to the fucking mental ward, But my own father told me that, So if I can he's my best friend, we've long overcome that. But man, if I can get through him telling me I'm crazy, I don't give a flying fuck about the opinions of other people because I'm trying to serve you. I'm here to give you a message and an opportunity. If you don't want to take it, no sweat at all. No sweat. Maybe I'll see you on the other side.
I want to just jump back quickly to two things. The one you started rattling off the deadly sins, the 7 deadly sins, and how we are inundated every day through social media and all the rest, and all this is aimed. But you didn't mention one, which is the king of the deadly sins, which is greed, because all of those things is all revolved around greed, which is where um, which is where the top of the pyramid lies. And everything that we are subjected to, what we buy, what we are advertised to, what we are marketed on a daily basis, it's all the foundation is greed. It's just how much money can we make today, all right? And like I said earlier, he who holds the gold makes the rules, right? And then the other thing that I wanted to touch on quickly, you mentioned these ritual sacrifices, and then you mentioned JFK. Now I don't know who who killed JFK, but you can draw your own conclusions. But I know why. Are you familiar with Executive Order
Oh, yeah,
11110?
sure.
So there was the whole idea where they were wanting to do away with the federal note and replace it with a US note, and the US note was backed by silver certificates. Those US dollars disappeared out of circulation after JFK was assassinated. So who had the most to lose?
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything, but I mean people need to draw their own conclusions. Like there's more to it than meets the eye. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just but there's a lot of unanswered questions which tie into a lot of the things that you say, and it makes absolute sense. Now, I'm a realist. I'm not a theorist, and I just take this information, that information, and if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, there's got to be a duck. Yeah, but this is a pretty damn powerful how long
I've
we've
got
been on.
nothing really, but yeah, I actually, there's a few things because man, I mean, like, to your point, I mean, it is such a great connection and episode. Something I've been talking about for a long time to your point about greed. So greed is the byproduct of scarcity. And we've been under the consciousness of scarcity for at least the last 2,000 years, where the collective consciousness believes there is a limited supply of resources on this planet. And scarcity the byproduct of scarcity is greed, corruption, manipulation, because of fear that there's not enough. Well, I believe that because I'm big into astrology and stuff like that, and so I believe that the age of Aquarius, which we really started to go into around the 60s, that harbored in the new consciousness of abundance. And the symbol for the age of Aquarius is the man carrying water. And why do we call it currency? Because it's like a current of a river. Why do we call them banks? Because we have river banks. So for me, I believe, again, there's a shift happening where we are evolving out of a consciousness of scarcity into a consciousness of abundance. Because imagine this, if you will. Let's imagine 50 years from now, what would that put us at? 2074? Imagine we have artificial intelligence and robotics that grow the food, pick the food, cook the food. So no one has, everyone has more than enough than they need. Then they will not take more than they need. So imagine if you could go into a Whole Foods or a grocery store and you could get anything that you wanted to make the most beautiful meal. When you're in that consciousness of abundance, because consciousness, the byproduct of consciousness is cooperation, unity, sharing. So if we were all in this new software of abundance, you wouldn't take more than you need. You wouldn't hoard.
No.
So if I can go to the grocery store and anyone could, and I could get the things that I need and want to make the food, I'm not going to take more than I need. And then let's say, man, because I love playing music, if I could go get a couple more guitars and, you know, a drum kit and stuff like that, I would be able to do that. So I could share my gifts and I could share that energy with people around me. And so then let's imagine someone was gifted with the gift of engineering, and they had this vision in their mind to create a teleportation device. And then they could go out and they could get the carbon fiber and the titanium, and they could get the plasma, and they could get all those things so they could create this so that they could give back to the whole. That is abundance. And that's where I think we are headed. We're in the last dying breaths of an age that's it's neither good nor bad. There is no good or bad in the eyes of the infinite. There just is. And so when we can stand back and look at this whole grand scheme, we can look back into the past and watch how things have unfolded and then extrapolate from where we are right now into the future. We can see, oh my God, it's going to be incredible. But where we are right now is in that point where it's darkest before the dawn. And so I like that. To your other point where you were talking about Warren Buffett and he who holds the gold makes the rules. Well, that's a belief. That's not absolute truth. But also consider this: the Warren Buffetts and those that don't have the eyes to see this opportunity, they will become paupers overnight. Warren Buffett will be wiped out because the only reason why people respect him, to your point, is because he's been so right. His moves have been so right. But once he's terribly wrong and so many people lose everything they've got, because yeah, they sold, a few $100 million worth of Apple shares, but at the end of the day, sold it for cash. I do think because those who are the architects of the fiat system, because they are so blinded and they let crypto and blockchain, they let this technology pass them by. Okay, they are doing everything they can to save their system because they're losing power fast. I'm not of the belief that we will have mass adoption of CBDCs. I don't think they have the manpower or the brain power to implement that idea. But again, and this is probably one of the best points, is that they own the propaganda machine. So they can put it on every news. Guess what we got, motherfuckers? We got this CBDC, and you're going to have to use it. And then, oh my gosh, we're going to do it. And yeah, you got countries like China that, yeah, they're implementing these systems already because they are just further along down the total control of people path. But even overnight, they're the worst. They're the worst at going into debt, the Chinese. Geez, with those ghost cities and all that, they're willing to do whatever it takes to catch up with America. But it's gonna backfire, and it is backfiring. We got all these banks in China collapsing, huge, the Evergrandes and all these other. It's collapsing. But remember, they own the propaganda machine, so they're only gonna let you know what they want you to know. And my final point would be, again, is that I'm so grateful to the people who are out there doing the research and putting all these pieces together for us to understand and for us to, use our reasoning ability to come up with the truth in our own mind. Because I watched recently a short clip. Again, I'm with you. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But man, when I watched these researchers put it together about, again, the assassination of John F. Kennedy, that was a ritual, and everything was perfectly in place. Everything. It was so freaking ritualized, it would blow your mind. And again, do your own research just like I do. But when I see that, and I see these are facts where they're showing you, hey, the 33rd degree, he was on the 30, all these things line up that are very esoteric, they're very demonic, that again, can you imagine the ripple of energy that was sent through the planet when they killed that man? Blew his head off right next to his wife. Can you imagine the ripple of trauma that people that would never have even gotten the opportunity to meet him were bawling their eyes out? They felt the grief of that assassination. That's what they wanted. That's what they want. They feed off that energy. And so all this stuff is ritualized. So no, I'm so grateful for the information that's being spread, even for you guys, to be inspired to put this together, to help people out. What you've done, Paul, with iCoin, trying to help educate people and show them a way to, get involved in this space and, learn how to, execute on these processes that can be overwhelming for people. So I think the three of us, we are the elders of the future. We are here to help other people, to wake them up and to try to show people, hey, listen, guys, we got this big ass ark and we got room. There's still some room left, so you can hop on if you want. But once the water is too high, we're out of here. Good luck.
Yeah, it's like Noah's Ark. But I do want to jump on what you said about CBDCs. Like I see educating people into self-custody of their and so that they can have sovereign control over their money, as a way to get them to steer clear of central bank digital currencies. And the scary thing is that I don't think that enough people are aware of the downside, because a lot of people are still like, oh, but it's from the government. We trust the government. Well, do you? Should you? Um, and that being said, I really think that the more that people study Bitcoin, especially Bitcoin, I mean, like crypto as a whole has a certain ethos behind it, but when you study Bitcoin and you get to understand why Bitcoin came to be, why, just the why. And when you understand that why, you will understand why you should lean more towards self-custody and sovereign control over your own money. Just the why. And that's like, I believe that's my mission, man. Like I really do. I love speaking about the subject. I love educating people. I've been doing it for years and years and years now. And I won't ever stop. Like I won't ever stop. If if you're willing to listen, I'm going to speak to you about Bitcoin. Like I do feel like a bit of an evangelist. And I do sound like a stuck record sometimes because I'll repeat myself. I don't care. Like I've got a message.
Amen.
Yeah.
But you mentioned it twice, quite enthusiastically. So will you share, with me and those that watch us, what is the why?
Why? It's because of everything that we've discussed here today. because of everything that we've discussed here today. It's
So,
about
okay, how does that make Bitcoin different than any other with limited supply? How does it make if that why, because that why is general across the whole board. I think that's something that blockchain technology in and of itself, that's the why. Why Bitcoin specifically?
so look, personally, I see Bitcoin as being the granddaddy. It will never be surpassed by anything else. It was the one that led everybody to go and do their own thing in the crypto space. It's what led us down the road to NFTs and everything else. It gave birth to blockchain, um, and because it's recognized, it's a brand. It's become a global brand that every single person knows about. Not many people know about IOTA or some of the like less known obscure. But when you talk Bitcoin to most people, they're gonna at least know what it is, or they've heard a little bit about it, and it's an easier gateway than trying to tell them about Zcash or Kusama. All right, like not I'm not saying that some of these are not mainstream cryptocurrencies, but a lot more people are going to, when you say Bitcoin, they're going, okay, but I know what you're talking about. So yeah, like why specifically Bitcoin? Because it's known, because it got us here, because it was the first. It's the granddaddy. It's For me, it's the everything. Look, there's other reasons I believe, and a lot of people might disagree with me, but I believe that Bitcoin with sidechains can do everything that all other chains can do. Now, I mean, you got runes on Bitcoin, which is like NFTs. There's the liquid sidechain can do staking. The Lightning sidechain can speed it up. I mean, Lightning sidechain on Bitcoin can send 1 million transactions a second, and it's settled in a second. It's fast. So yeah, like don't get me wrong, I do own a lot of other crypto. I'd like my portfolio is wide. But I just prefer Bitcoin. It was there when I needed it to be. That's probably why. Like
I love
Bitcoin got
that.
me out of hole.
Nice. Well, yeah, I mean, and I really appreciate the fact that you said your portfolio is wide. Because I mean, again, I'm not an evangelist for anyone specifically, but for me, it's a lot of people can get stuck in that the idealism of it. Whereas, like, you've got kids,
Yep.
how old?
26 and 12.
Oh, okay, so perfect. So both perfect age. The 12-year-old, does he play Fortnite?
He does.
Okay. Does he play an Atari?
No,
Do you think he even knows what an Atari is?
probably not.
I would bet that in the when Ataris were created, and even probably for years after the fact, most people knew what an Atari was. So that's where my thing is. I agree, and I'm grateful for Bitcoin, but at the end of the day, I don't know what the future brings.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I see where you're getting at, but I mean, you also have to remember that the first ETF was Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin was all the firsts, you know. Um, and yeah, what's going to happen in 120 years' time when the last Bitcoin is mined? That's not for me to answer. I'm not going to be here, you know. But it's like if I had to give up all my other crypto and I was forced just to buy one, I'd buy Bitcoin.
Nice. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Hey Gary, I wanted to ask you one more thing, and this is kind of also continuing on like how you were talking about all these different systems, these governmental systems, these religious systems, these centralized systems that for the most part have not really been serving humanity's best interest. I know you're big on this thing called a DAO, also known as a decentralized autonomous organization. Can you elaborate on that? What is it? Why is it something that is beneficial?
Yeah, of course. So a few years back, I came across a book called The Sovereign Individual. I mean, that book is not for the faint-hearted for sure, but book I think written in the early 2000s or the late 90s, where they were just talking. The main thesis behind the book is that microprocessing was going to eradicate the nation state. And part of that book talks about how, as the nation state loses power and loses trust, because their whole system is based on trust, even religion, all those older systems are based on trust and consent of the followers. As it loses that, more and more, individual autonomous organizations are going to be sprouting up all over the world. I think that we are already in a digital virtual world where, Paul, our friend, he's in, the Mediterranean or, in Europe. And so, but we're friends, we're in a digital virtual meeting right now. And so, these older systems of like jurisdiction and politics and government, they even have rules they adhere to, jurisdiction being one of them. And so for me, what a DAO is it is a whole new jurisdiction in that they have no power or control over. Okay, so to give you an example for those that don't know is that, so let's say if someone commits a crime in a country where there's like no extradition, or there's the US government really has no jurisdiction over, then they have no power in that country. Okay, they might be able to contact the government in that country and do something against this person or organization, but really they have rules. They have invisible borders that they even can't cross. So what power do they really have other than the power that is consented to them by the followers? And so, again, I've been really big into, like law in and of itself, law, words, estates are big for me, like trusts, versus like, let's say a corporation or things like that. And so, um, so for me, a DAO is just it's a digital virtual organization where you can bring people together, in any quantity, anywhere in the world in a state of harmony to execute on a plan. So I'm big on that. I mean, I back in, geez, I think it was 2019. No, 2020, because it's after I formed my trust. I actually turned my family's trust into an NFT. And that's the only place where it's registered is on the blockchain. So what that means to me, or what I would defend in court, is this trust, this entity, it is registered in the metaverse, and no government has any jurisdiction over that metaverse. Just like you hear people all the time, oh, I set up an offshore trust and all these, blah, 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 all these structures to try to, be more private, be more, protecting assets, things like that. But at the end of the day, you're still playing their game. Whereas there's a whole new game that's been created in this metaverse. And so I did that back in 2019. Like I said, I actually, for me personally, my DAO, I look at like a private investment community, a worldwide private investment community where, we're investors and entrepreneurs all over the world, where we're bringing opportunities and investments to the collective, and then we're able to do due diligence. We're able to invest as a community in those regions of the world. My vision for my DAO is, we'll have properties or chapters all over the world. I will definitely have a chapter in Madeira, 100%. And as I have one right here. This is an NFT, but it's also a beneficial ownership certificate in a trust. Everyone that holds one of these has fractional ownership and rights to all those properties, all those cars, all those assets. So for me, we can do that in a very private, very secured manner. Everything's transparent. Every NFT has a voting right. So if I say, oh my gosh, this is a real example. Oh, my baby mama, she runs a very big inflatables company, like big inflatable slides for kids' parties and stuff like that. They're looking to sell it. She comes to me, hey, I got this opportunity for you. Here's how much it's cost. They're looking for $500,000. Here's the numbers, the financials. I'm like, I'm open to anything. I take that information, I provide it to my DAO. I say, hey guys, I just got an opportunity. Here's all the information. Let's take some time to do some due diligence. Let's meet up together in a week and we'll discuss if we want to move forward on this or not. So that's how I use DAOs. Just as, I think that, we're taking money and we're taking the transfer of value and we're making it digital virtual. You brought this up earlier, Sean, is I'm trying to see how we can use this technology to revolutionize all of the current systems, investing and hedge funds, private money, family offices, things like that. That's how I'm personally using it. My DAO specifically with the integration of NFTs, because I saw with the whole NFT craze happen, I didn't actually buy a single NFT. I created my own with the trust, because I saw it as, I see everybody's getting crazy over the fad and, get rich quick money. How can I use that technology? And I instantly saw, this is a new jurisdiction that they cannot get access to.
Powerful.
It's actually very. Now you take someone like myself that lives in the Eurozone. Madeira is still part of Europe, and it's very difficult for me to open a trust. All right, because the trust needs to be domiciled in a certain place and all the rest, and Portugal does not recognize it. Otherwise, there's big tax implications. So DAO might be the answer that I'm actually looking for.
I would love to talk more about that because I just got banking set up in India.
Okay.
So
we can never
do is
discussion at another time. Otherwise, we're gonna be rolling over, guys. I think we've hit an hour or so.
I think so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, this
Gary,
is part one then.
Would you be open to doing like episode 2 of this at some point?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Only reason why is because we need to put the little one to bed, and
Of course.
it's because it's getting late on this side. It's 9:45 here.
No sweat. Yeah, I've got a big dinner I've got to start making for my family, so it's all perfect.
All right, great stuff. You know what, Gary, this was awesome. I could listen to you speak for hours. And Sean, thanks for putting this together, man. This was pretty awesome. It was very eye-opening and very educational. Super. And like I've got so many more questions for Gary.
Well, I really appreciate that, Paul. I appreciate meeting you. I owe you my fucking life, Sean. So
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for episode 2 and make sure you click the links in the description of this video. We'll leave links to Gary's clothing company. We'll leave links to Gary's social media platforms. Send him a DM if you got any questions about all the just incredible topics that he talked about.
thanks, brother. I appreciate you, man.